Today, we are diving into something called the Dark Triad. It's a really critical concept in psychology. And by the end of this, you're going to have the tools to spot the warning signs of a narcissist, almost instantly.
And listen, that's not just some dramatic line from a movie. It's a psychological reality. There are individuals out there who just don't feel guilt or empathy the way that most of us do. For them, every conversation, every relationship is basically a strategic game. And this entire mindset, well, it's defined by a really powerful psychological concept known as the Dark Triad.
So, let's get right into our intelligence briefing. To really understand the threat, you first have to know exactly what it is you're looking for.
Now here's the thing, the Dark Triad isn't just one single trait. Nope. It's this toxic combination of three, and to really spot a narcissist, we need to understand all of them.
First up, the big one, the one you've probably heard of, narcissism. But the key here isn't just plain old arrogance. It's that deep, almost desperate need for constant admiration. It's like a hunger that can never, ever be filled. Next up, we've got Machiavellianism. These are the master manipulators. For them, morality is just a suggestion, not a rule. And they are always, always playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
And the third pillar of this triad is psychopathy. This one is characterized by a truly chilling lack of remorse. They can cause real harm to people and feel absolutely nothing. And it's often combined with a tendency for impulsive and antisocial behavior.
And this is where the real danger lies. When you get all three of these traits overlapping in one person, they create what psychologists call a social predator. Someone who can be incredibly charming on the outside, but is just cold, calculating, and empty on the inside.
Okay, so we've got the definitions down. But how does this stuff actually show up in the real world? Let's move from theory to practice with our first little field test. We'll call it the spotlight.
Just ask yourself this question next time you're talking to someone and you get that kind of off feeling. What happens when the conversation isn't about them?
You see, a healthy person listens. But a person high in these Dark Triad traits, they're not really listening. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. And what you're looking for is the immediate one-up. Say you mention, "I'm so excited I just ran my first 5K." Instead of getting a, "Wow, that's amazing," you get, "Oh, nice, I ran a half marathon last month with a knee injury." The spotlight must always, always return to them.
All right, let's move on to the second test. This one goes a little deeper than just the words they use. It's the empathy scan.
This is such a critical distinction. Can they genuinely connect with your emotions, or are they just, running a script of what a normal person is supposed to say in that situation?
So this slide really gets to the heart of it. Effective empathy is when you genuinely feel someone else's pain or joy. Dark Triad personalities, on the other hand, often only have cognitive empathy. They know you're hurt, they can process it intellectually, but they don't feel it. A really great way to spot this is to watch how they treat people who can't do anything for them, like a waiter or a janitor. If they are super charming to you but then snap at the server for a tiny mistake, pay close attention. When being kind offers no benefit, the mask has a tendency to slip.
And now for what might be the single fastest and most definitive test you can run. It's simple, it's direct, and it is incredibly revealing. Let's call it the no bomb.
That's it. That's the entire test. A minor correction, a simple boundary, a polite disagreement. What is their immediate reaction?
A healthy person might be a little disappointed, sure, but they'll handle it. A narcissist, however, can fly into what's known as narcissistic rage. And we're not talking about a huge deal. It could be something as simple as, "Actually, I think the meeting is at 3, not 2. Because their self-image is so incredibly fragile, your no isn't a disagreement. To them, it feels like a fundamental threat. That completely disproportionate anger, or that sudden icy silence, that's the tell.
Okay, so knowing all of this, how do you protect yourself? Let's get to the final and most important section of our briefing, your ultimate defense. First off, be wary of someone who just seems too perfect, a little too smooth. This is what's known as glid charm. They might mirror your interests and personality so perfectly it feels like you've met your soulmate, but in reality, they're just building a bridge of trust that they fully plan to exploit later.
So let's debrief. These are the 3 core red flags you absolutely need to remember. The constant one-upping in conversation, the visible lack of any genuine feeling for other people, and that explosive reaction to any form of criticism or just setting a simple boundary.
And this is why understanding these traits is so important. These individuals rely on the trust and the good nature of other people. By knowing their playbook, you take away their most valuable weapon, the element of surprise.
You know, ultimately, the most important takeaway from all of this is pretty simple. Always protect your peace. Learn to trust your gut instinct. If a person or a situation feels fundamentally off, there's a very, very high probability that it is.
And that brings us to the end of this explainer. I'll leave you with this question to think about. What's the biggest red flag you've ever personally witnessed in someone? Seriously, reflecting on it helps sharpen your instincts and really makes these lessons stick.